Thank you for staying with us. There is so much in the aviation sector begging for attention. And with a new man at the helm of affairs of such a sensitive sector, Festus Keyamo, Nigerians are keenly waiting to see what the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development will bring to the table. He is already settling into his new role and has begun receiving comprehensive briefing on the state of affairs from all the departments under his ministry and all the agencies he supervises. We're joining us to highlight areas in aviation that should be getting needed attention, as well as set an agenda for the minister as he digs his boots deeper is DAMILOLA OGUNSEYE, Vice Chairman, Foreign Airline Operators Committee. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
And aviation analyst also joins us here in the studio, Wole Shadare. Good morning, Wole.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let me begin with you, Wole. There are those who would say that Festus Keyamo is inheriting a lot as he takes on the baton from the former Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika. And there was so much on the horizon with regards to the aviation sector. Talk about the aviation sector roadmap that a lot of persons were looking forward to how it will be implemented. And there's also the question of should Festus Keyamo even continue with that roadmap? So many questions, but let's get your perspective as to what the issues are and how you think Festus Keyamo should hit the ground running.
Thank you very much. I think Mr. Keyamo has his work really cut out for him because if you look at the aviation sector, it's one sector that dominated headlines in the last few months for all the good and all the bad and all the worse. So he really has his work really cut out for him. But I believe he's getting some briefings from his directors and from the agency's heads. So I'm really optimistic that after these briefings, he will come up with not another roadmap. I think the roadmap we have during Mr. Hadi Sirika, there's nothing absolutely wrong with those that roadmap. Because if you look at the roadmap, we had airport concession, we had national carrier, we have MRO, we have aircraft leasing company, and one other one. I think there are 5 in all. So what we're going to do, what he needs to do is to sit down and see how he can work with some of these things, and where he feels uncomfortable with, we can begin to rejig those things. Government is a continuum, and from what he said last week when he assumed office, he said he was going to look into those roadmaps and he's going to think out with those with that roadmap and make it workable. And one of the controversies we had in the last few weeks or few months has been the national carrier, which is also part of the roadmap that we have. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that, with national carrier, having a national carrier. Maybe the process was faulty, maybe the process was not transparent, but the former minister has come out to defend robustly some of his position on it. So it depends on the divide on where you belong. Personally, I see national carrier as very beneficial to Nigeria, but the way we go about it will determine whether we need a national airline or not. Yes, we have flag carrier airlines, but most of our airlines are very small. They are very weak and fragmented. So we need to look at how we're going to make them to work. We have a lot of bilateral air services agreement with foreign airlines, and this agreement has tilted, or they tilt towards not in Nigeria's advantage, but at the same time, you can't stop a serious-minded company that wants to do business from doing business. So what we need to do, we need to be competitive, and that is where Mr. Keyamo also needs to look at how he can help these airlines to maximize their potentials. I'm very optimistic. He's a very brilliant lawyer. He is an activist, and I'm sure how far he goes depends on how he surrounds or the people he surrounds himself with. So I'm very, very optimistic about this sector. Yes, we have so many challenges, but these challenges are not unsurmountable. We can surmount these challenges.
I like that word. These challenges are not unsurmountable.
Absolutely.
That is quite encouraging because there's been so much going on. Just yesterday, we were seeing on the internet where someone was saying that perhaps in the coming days, a trip from Lagos to Abuja might cost 250,000 naira. And we were screaming where we were in the office saying, just Abuja within Nigeria is going to cost so much. But when you look at our peculiarities, he has said the challenges are not unsurmountable. I am wondering what your perception is, especially with regards to the bilateral arrangement we have with some of these airlines and how it is that they are taking advantage of it and Nigeria is not benefiting as much from it. What would you expect to see the minister tinker with regards to some of these arrangements in the best interest of these airlines, the domestic airlines or that have bilateral arrangements?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, we need to look at the fact that our infrastructure is the #1 thing. If you don't have the right infrastructure, the local players will not be able to play well. And if you look at the MMA one in the last decades, it's been like a shadow of itself. And the new terminal could not even accommodate as much as airlines that it should be. So for us to benefit from these bilateral agreements, we need the right infrastructure, we need the right landing equipments, like the right ILS and the rest of it. We need to ensure that we give a good platform for the local airlines to thrive. Because we have bilateral agreements, but we don't have local content that can feed into the bilateral agreement.
When you say local content, break it down. How do you
as in local carriers like AirPeace, like Dana, like AERO, like them.
Let's not promote them now. Yes. Okay.
So, you know, they need to create an avenue for them to operate effectively. Okay, like now for the airport, a lot of things, there has been a lot of cry about let's renew, let's rebuild, let's do a lot of stuff to get that airport to standard. You can be at the departure hall and you're feeling so hot.
Yes.
Sometimes the baggage belt doesn't work.
Yes.
And the staffs of the fan, they're doing a lot of work, but they are limited to a major rejig to restore the airports to the standard that it should belong. So that's the issue. If you fix infrastructure, every other thing will fall in place.
Right. So in your perspective, let me still stay with you. What do you think perhaps has held us back over the years from addressing some of the decay infrastructurally that you have seen?
Lack of focus. We have a misplaced priority in this country. If there's a need for us to get things done, we don't face the real thing. We run after other things. So I want to employ the Honorable Minister, Festus Keyamo, that his first assignment, from my own perspective, should be putting the infrastructure in the right perspective. If you can put that, every other thing, we have good policies. The likes of Dr. Arodemore, they've done a lot of work to put the regulatory bodies in a good standing globally. But what we lack is having the right infrastructure to operate as an airline, to operate as a country, that we have an airport that is self-sufficient. So the Honorable Minister needs to look into that immediately.
When we're looking at self-sufficiency of our airports, I wonder what comes to mind for you, such that we can have a robust working sector, so to speak, where we can benefit, like he has pointed out. Because some Nigerians will see the airports we have and say that, well, we have structure now. So what really is the challenge? You go to Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, you see that. Abubakar Tafawa Balewa Airport, you see that as well. And you also go to across Nigeria, you see the structures. So what is missing, perhaps in clear terms, for our viewers to really understand what we say?
Thank you. I think you rightly said it. There's nothing you can do in aviation without having the infrastructure in place. If you look at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport terminal, which is our #1 airport in Nigeria, is an eyesore. I think that terminal should be brought down for a more befitting terminal. If you go into that terminal, passengers go through a lot to even undergo check-in and collection of their baggage. So what we need to do, if you look at what other countries have done in the last 5-10 years, you will be ashamed of this country, in the sense that you look at Kotoka International Airport.
Right.
It's one of the best airport terminals in Africa. You go to Senegal, you see what they've done with that airport. And you go to Joburg or Cape Town, you see what they have done, understand? So what we need to do, sit down, like a lot of people have advocated, we need to bring out that terminal and begin to build a world-class terminal. And doing that, hopefully, we're going to make Lagos a hub. Because what it is now is that places like Lome, Accra, are becoming stronger hubs than Lagos. And where do they get these passengers from? It's from Nigeria. If you travel from Lagos to London, 70% of the passengers are Nigerians. And if you're also traveling from London to Lagos, 70 or 80% of the people coming into this country are Nigerians. So if you also go to Lome, Accra, to London, you'll find out that majority of the people in that aircraft are Nigerians. So the market is here. So we need to be serious. We need to sit down and look at infrastructure. The government can't do it alone. What I believe the government should do is to engage the private sector people, because we have more critical sectors like health, education, and roads. So, and government alone cannot take care of all this. So we need to engage the private sector, bring in your money via concession, but that concession must be in the interest of Nigeria and Nigerians. We have Dr. Wale Babalakin that has built something that people can see, one of the best terminals in Nigeria. So why can't we engage people, Nigerians? We have brilliant, intelligent Nigerians and people who have money that can commit their money into some of these projects. So we need to engage. I think that's what Mr. Keyamo needs to do, to sit down and see how he can leverage on what he met on ground. And some of the things that he met that are not good, you discard them. Government is a continuum. The biggest problem we've had in this country is that when a new government comes in, we start afresh. And that has affected us in the last 20-25 years. So what we need to do, and I know he's a very smart man, is going to engage people. And that is why I say, how he succeeds in the industry depends on the people he surrounds himself with. Right. If he surrounds himself with the people like Dr. Harold Demori, Dr. Olumuyiwa Aliu, very brilliant, intelligent people, I'm sure Mr. Keyamo is going to be a success in this sector.
All right.